everybody, welcome to the garage. Andy Martin sent me a little note saying 7 million views in the last 28 days and growing. Pete, don't look at me like that.
That's incredible.
It is. No, well, welcome to... Oh, he's passed out. Sorry. How are you, Gary?
I can't speak.
Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion, ladies and gentlemen. Our guests were around the dining room table last Friday, jeremycordeaux.com, Adam Crichton from the Institute of Public Affairs, the brilliant Dr. John Bruni, the amazing Professor Plimer, criminologist Catherine Teeley, Frank Pangello, who is going to be a regular on the show, and Pauline Hanson. What a show that was. Thank you to all of you for their time and their talent. Now, I reckon this wasn't so much a budget as it was a political suicide note for Labour. Looking at the various polls and research, front pages, here's the Sunday Mail. We don't trust you. And it goes on, and then there was the Weekend Australian. After death, we do tax. Trust breach, a whole lot of stuff. I mean, the whole paper was devoted to much of the budget and criticism of it. 83% of Australians say that Labor has lied. I've heard of spending political capital, but this is ridiculous. There is no doubt that they are dead people walking. They're going to go through the motions right up to the next election as socialists thinking, mission accomplished, we did it. But like the similarly disastrous Whitlam government of '73, there is no way in the world they will be re-elected. As in the 1970s, they were out of power for over 10 years. In fact, it's interesting to reflect on some of the similarities between Whitlam and Albanese. Both were elected in a huge landslide, a majority, big majority, 94 seats I think Albanese's got. After 12 months, Whitlam started significant socialist reforms. Just like Albanese. He didn't use the expression intergenerational fairness, but it was the same sort of thing, the dead hand of socialism. Let's look back for a minute at the fallout from some of those reforms that came in '73. It's interesting. The Whitlam government swept in with its much trumpeted It's Time campaign. Mind you, didn't tell us exactly what it was time for. 12 months on, and their reforms, wow, opposing all market realities. Read Common Sense for that. The consequences were the stock market crashed violently, housing prices slumped and then skyrocketed. All the work of renowned communist Jim, now what a coincidence, no, not Jim Chalmers, Jim Cairns. The mess was exacerbated by wage increases and government quadrupling its spending and debt, or perhaps that should be waste. If you look at the stock market crash, the Australian share market suffered a dramatic fall. Dramatic, 73 and 74. The All Ordinaries index dropped nearly 60%. 60% from its January high, this is before these guys got elected, in '72. All unintended consequences. I'm sure, or perhaps. Unemployment started to climb, inflation through the roof, record bankruptcies. I looked that up, you can do that, Google that yourself. During the Whitlam years from '72 to '75, over 5,000 business bankruptcies, over 18,000 personal bankruptcies, and of course recession. Well done, Mr. Whitlam. When adjusted for inflation, it remains the deepest, worst economic crash in Australian history. Yes, there were some global factors, notably the oil crisis. But the housing market surged, became a safe haven by comparison to the stock market, which was a smoking wreck. Australian house prices boomed between 72 and 74. Values jumped by up to 83% across the major capital cities. One of the drivers was Whitlam's quadrupling Commonwealth spending on housing and tripling the outlay on urban development. A Labor-made road to hell. All of this provoked, of course, the dismissal. And Labor out of office for a long time. But it could be that Anthony Albanese's not interested in history. It's a great predictor, you know. But because he's doing exactly what Whitlam did, the same thing, he will get the same result. It took us a generation to recover from 3 Whitlam years. God, he was only there for 3 years. It was all about reform, reform, reform. Well, here we are, a generation on, and Labor is doing it again. Now, our sponsors, they bring us this program, our podcast, our posting on Facebook on a Tuesday and a Thursday, and of course our live streaming show as well. Rossdale Homes, a fine South Australian family-owned company, famous for their fixed price guarantees, which guarantees you no nasty surprises. Whether you're building your first home or maybe your 10th home, I don't know, or you're a property developer, you'll like this crowd of people. Rossdale Homes, when trust is a must. For peace of mind, you can go to the website rossdalehomes.com.au and have a little look. I'm sure you'll be impressed. As I mentioned, we had Pauline Hanson on Friday's live streaming show, and she made it quite clear that while the Liberal Party and One Nation believe in many similar things, she has ruled out an official coalition. But clearly, they are like-minded parties who can and should combine to get the numbers when the time comes, the numbers to get this lot out of here. Because, believe me, if Labor was to win the next election, which is highly improbable, I know, but if they did, that would be the end of Australia. Absolutely no future other than a bleak communist landscape, devoid of opportunity and enterprise. The Liberals and the National Party, with One Nation, will have the numbers to get rid of these people. It will be the showdown. And oh yes, talking about history, as I say, it's a great predictor. As you know, Labor tried to do much of this economic reform, as they describe it, at the 2019 election with Bill Shorten. That's when the Australian people said quite clearly, no. No to every measure. That was a pretty good opinion poll, which Labor should have listened to. But here's the really stupid thing. Get your mind around this. Negative gearing. It's been in their sights for I cannot imagine how long. Negative gearing. It goes back to 1936, where much of our tax law was put into place. And do you know why negative gearing was introduced in 1936? It was to combat, relieve, fix, guess what? A housing crisis. So the very thing that did the job back in 1936 to fix the problem, more houses, in similar circumstances today, this government has cancelled. Where in God's name is the logic in that? It's not logic, it's ideology. Or as Pauline Hanson said so eloquently on the program on Friday, a shit sandwich for the Australian people, particularly the young. This, what's it called again? Intergenerational fairness cliche that they came up with is just a very thinly disguised statement of intention to redistribute wealth. All of that talk about distortion. Nothing is distorted. You got some people who work like hell, save like hell. Some people are smarter. Some are more lucky. Taller, shorter, better looking, I don't know, faster. Other people just want to put their feet up, coast along, be a burden on society. Now, I'm not saying you punish these people, but you certainly don't reward them. There will always be winners and losers. I know. I've been both. That's life. You know, you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you get on with it. If all this reform was to remove distortion and get younger people into their first home faster, more easily, we'd all like that, I think. If this was true, they would not be applying all this capital gain stuff to shares. What's that got to do with getting young people into housing? It's got a lot to do with raising revenue and the Whitlam disease. And you go back to 1936 and you see, this is what you should do, see how to improve negative gearing. Make it bigger, make it better. Oh, yes, if you're serious, sir, you could cut 50% of the cost of building a new house overnight by removing government taxes and charges, but you won't do that, will you? You're not only liars, but you're hypocrites. Your bright idea to lower the deposit for the first home buyer to 5% was a failure, counterproductive in fact. I and others told you that last October. All these measures that you have put in, all of these new measures, exactly the same result you will get. They will not produce cheaper or easier home ownership for young people. The Treasurer says that only, what was it, 7,500 people will be negatively or adversely affected by what he has done. 7,500. And he says that's nothing. Well, to them it probably is. But he says it's no problem. No problem politically, which is of course all he cares about. But then on the other hand, he says that his measures are designed to help 7,500 people into a new home, which he says is terrific. Now what is he thinking? Disadvantaging, hurting 7,500 people doesn't really matter. Helping 7,500 people is incredibly important. I think the guy is deluded, or incredibly stupid, or both. But a treasurer who can't count up is amazing. Anyway, they will have a long time in the political wilderness to think about all of this. Anthony Albanese and Jim Chalmers will of course be long gone, but the damage that they have done is what worries me. And the damage that they will continue to do for the next 2 years, that's a problem for Australia. Government can't come to grips with the simple fact that whichever way you cut it, it's not their money. You know, they talk about giving it back, this benefit, that benefit, this rebate, that rebate. You shouldn't have taken it in the first place. Fix the demand that you have for ever increasing amounts of money, revenue. Start with the public service. It's incomprehensible that Australia, with 28 million people, has the largest public service of any OECD country in the world. More public servants than any other country in the OECD. That's what you cut. That's what you cut. Ah, lordy, lordy. It's Made in Australia Week. Made in Australia Week, ladies and gentlemen. I'm all for that. But just keep in mind, back in '75, when Whitlam signed the Lima Declaration, which divested us of a lot of the things that we used to make. And now they want made in Australia. Okay, we'll see where that goes. Happy birthday if you're having a birthday. Happy wedding anniversary. Oh, wow, Gary, you'd be interested in that. The first automobile made by Carl Benz.
Carl Benz and Gottlieb Daimler.
Arrives in the Netherlands on this day in 1896. The same day, a few years on, 2022, Mercedes confirms the sale of the world's most expensive car, a 1955 Mercedes-Benz SLR Coupe for 135 million euros. What's that, about 145?
Double it.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Yeah. So it'd be 240 million Australian dollars.
That's right.
Good God. I wonder what the insurance on that would be. Yeah. Time magazine features Thesaurus, an electrical learning machine. Wow. Built by American scientist Claude Shannon, the very first example of AI. 1951 was the year. Gold ownership is legalised in Australia. So you weren't allowed to own gold? Well, what about the gold miners? What they dug out of the ground, for God's sake? They weren't doing it for the exercise, they were doing it for the gold. Or perhaps back then we had a socialist government that said, well, you dig the gold out and you give it to us, and then you tortoise, reportedly given to Tonga's king by Captain James Cook in 1773, dies at 193, around about that age, 193 years old. The year was 1966. It's a good advertisement for moving very slowly, isn't it?
Oh, Dave's still here.
Yeah, Dave's still here. Dave is the bear, by the way. Synergy. 8 out of 9 planets are forecast to align on the same side of the sun on this day in 2161. I think none of us here will be able to enjoy that.
Maybe Pete.
Yeah, maybe Pete. 51 frogs enter the first annual frog jumping jubilee. Angels Camp in California on this day in 1928. I don't know how that crept into the diary, but jumped into the diary, sorry. The USS Triton, the first submarine with 2 nuclear reactors, is completed. The year was 1959. Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, beautiful lady that she was, American First Lady from 61 to 63, dies of cancer at the age of 64 on this day in 1994. Star Wars Episode 1, which was The Phantom Menace, directed by George Lucas, starring Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman, Liam Neeson, is released in cinemas on this day in 1999. Same day, 2007, Pirates of the Caribbean, At World's End, starring Johnny Depp, Keira Knightley, she's beautiful, beautiful. Orlando Bloom premieres in Anaheim, the most expensive film at the time ever made, $300 million. Okay. Anne Boleyn, second wife of English King Henry VIII, is beheaded. I think we did something on Anne Boleyn the other day. Oh, no, that was when she was arrested. This is when they didn't waste any time, did they? No. No. Charged with adultery, incest and treason. That was on this day in 1536. This day in 1568, English Queen Elizabeth I and daughter arrests Mary, Queen of Scots. They were a strangely complicated group of people. No. Yeah.
Most families.
I mean, workers' compensation. Can you imagine getting workers' compensation in the royal family? You were dead people walking, sort of thing. Marilyn Monroe sings "Happy Birthday, Mr. President," and we knew she meant every verse. Jack Kennedy liked it. 15,000 people were in attendance. Jazz pianist Hank Jones was there. Madison Square Garden, New York City, this day in 1962. German occupiers in Holland forbid bicycle taxis in 1941. Why? Yeah, what's wrong with bicycle taxis? William F. Buffalo Bill Cody opens the Buffalo Bill Wild West Show in Omaha, Nebraska on this day in 1883. And in 1884, Ringling Brothers Circus premieres in Barbaro, Wisconsin. Pete Townsend, British rock guitarist and composer, vocalist. Am I running out of time? Yes. The Who, Tommy, My Generation. He was born on this day in 1945. We're the same age. He was in Genesis before all of that, too.
Yeah. He was famous for
being famous.
Well, busting his guitars on stage.
Ah, yes. Well, they're a colourful group of people. Just one more. 2021 BBC investigation finds that the 1995 Princess Diana interview was secured through deceitful behaviour. And I got to tell you, wasn't the first, and it probably won't be the last. But anyway, I don't know what happened to the journalist, Martin Bashir, it was. Don't know what it did for his career initially, quite a lot, I would have thought. Thank you very much for being with us, ladies and gentlemen. Look forward to your company when we have another posting here on Facebook with the best wishes of Rossdale Homes. Thursday morning, Pete will have it punched. Do you punch it in? What do you do?
Well, I post it.
Post it. He'll post it in. Yeah. Can we afford the stamps?
Probably not.
No, not the way Australia Post deals with it. Anyway, we'll see you on Thursday morning with another posting. Thank you for viewing the Court of Public Opinion. Believe in yourself, and goodbye for now.